I am Suman Singh. I'm originally from India. I've been in Austin for about 20 years now. Uh, I'm an e-commerce entrepreneur. Started a company in Austin, called Austin Bazaar, where we sell music gear, all the stuff you see on that stage where we sell that from here all over the country. Uh, uh, Years now, do organically. Looking to capital for our next phase of growth. Um, so 10 years ago, I bought the company back in India where I'm from, and over there, that company is grown as just music e-commerce company. So that just it's been in this kind of weird niche. I'm not a musician. I'm a really bad guitar player.
But I told him, hey, it's like, hey, when we come back to Austin, if you have some talent, you may just tap into the talent. We don't have to just do an M&A meeting. Let's do a concert. Let's do a concert. Next.
I started my company RGC Partners earlier this year. We are M&A intermediary, focusing on the lower middle market, mostly focused on biotech, health, and construction. I know my background there. I need 2 deals to close sometime in the year in order to get my intermediary. So if you're looking to sell your company, you'll buy a company. Sorry.
Fractional CFO. What that is, actually CFO, small business, usually $3 to $30 million a year in savings, to solve all of them. That's
This guy, the man, the myth, the legend. Chavez.
In Washington, known these guys for a long time. Working with a client right now, which is awesome. Amy knows the product. We sell this panel, wood panel, metal garage doors, and turn it into a wooden garage door for like eighth the cost of wooden garage doors. Right, super cool product. But they're raising that convertible note round, so I'm helping them finish out their raise. And it just was super awesome. She's like, "Oh my God, I've seen that online." And I was like, "How cool!" Like, I mean,
his houses, I'm like,
I'm in Austin. I'm like, yeah, that's really know. So super fun. Glad to be here.
How much and exactly what are the terms?
It's 8% interest, 24 months, $15 million cap.
Okay.
For $3 million to a $5 million raise.
Perfect. There you go.
Or less.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, Jabez, it's funny. So I met him at the Grand Fairmont in Singapore. We're chit-chatting about some innovative marketplace stuff and technology. Then immediately he said he's from Alaska. So of course, I got his number and I stayed in touch with him. Recently, he just called me and is like, hey, what are you building? Like, I heard something about this acquisition IQ. Yeah. He was like, Nate, I'm flying to you. And I was like, I mean, we could meet on Zoom. He's like, nah, dude, an in-person kind of guy. So just props to you again for supporting. No, and he's like, listen, Nate, I completely see what you're building. I see that it's in for the long term. And I know that deals aren't just, raising money, capital, whatever relationships. It's not just today, right now. Obviously, we have to establish some form of what we're doing and where we've been and also where we're going. And, Julie right over here, she came to the last AIQ that we had here in Austin. It was at a random, super small art gallery. But hey, this is better than last time, right? Come on. Right? See, that's what I'm talking about. You gotta start small. Yeah, next time. Anyway, Kent, did you? Yeah, let's do it. Thank you.
I'm talking for
A few months now. Yeah.
Schedules finally worked out. I live in a northern suburb here. We started a firm a couple of years ago to really help startups get gravity and get going. And then they would ask us to raise money.
and or help us raise money. So we started navigating the VC community, and then they were getting their money, and so we were talking to the VC people. I was like, "Why do you fund these guys? You have a cool product or whatever." Like, guy doesn't have business acumen. He's never operated a company before. That all evolved into basically what we do now, which is what private equity and VC firms basically say, here's why or why not. We do diligence. Basically, we use some AI stuff. It's kind of proprietary to what we develop, plus 75 years of acumen in the space. So we work with them, vote up or down, some extra diligence if they're a good company. This is why we get $1 million, might as well go free. That's what
Yeah.
and then on the founder side, we for capital, we'll run it through our algorithm, go, or
You're great.
why fix it. Back to it. Our model hits winners almost 100% of the losers about 100% of the time, and the winners 60% of the time. So it's kind of a fun speech. Thanks for putting this together. Great event.
Thank you. Well, you know what? Was there one more? Yeah. Go ahead.
Steve, I'm a business owner. I like is the business owner. I used to create like all businesses, all in textile manufacturing wholesaler, and we used to have like 20 employees manage 10 factories in China, and we shape to 3 years ago, the textile business grew a lot. So to get into real estate full time, and I have my other employee running the business. So I moved here from Montreal 3 years ago, and after that, I started to invest as LP first in commercial real estate, and now I invest both active and passively in real estate. And the last 12 months, so we acquired 4 properties, land development and a retail center, and then mobile home park.
Okay.
So yeah, in real estate, so it's to networking, to find investors, partners, and also to provide some investment opportunities to our investors. And I'm very happy to you be here. And this is such a great group of people or business owners. And thank you for organizing this.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for coming. It's interesting. And I'm going to try to do this every single time. And I'm going to try to really develop a sales and training team or not sales training, but train the sales team as a part of Acquisition IQ. Whenever somebody comes in off of an interest form on a social ad, that they follow a specific structure. And also, care is one of my deepest things I believe in. So like, as far as for you, for example, I called you, had this conversation. It was a certain amount of time, but also got to know you a little bit better. So, again, thank you for coming out, and each and every one of you, same thing. So I want to move on. Today we've got Neil Conlon, how do you pronounce it? Conlon. And Neil, so he's another one of those gentlemen. He filled out an interest form. We gave him a call. I said, hey, what are you about? What's your story? Where are you going? Also, those that are in the story, where you've been, to where you're going. So let me read his back. A U.S. Marine Corps veteran, entrepreneur, and a performance coach, helps leaders and organizations unlock their highest potential through mental fitness, discipline, and also AI integrative strategies. As the founder of Press Forward, Neil combines military precision with an emotional intelligence to help people lead through clarity, resilience, and impact. Additionally, he's raised millions of dollars for multiple projects and, again, helps to implement AI into business structure. So let's welcome Neil to the stage. Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for joining us today. That's it. So this will be more of a fireside interview. Um,
I think I'm on.
yes. So kind of an intimate, just wanted to get to know you a little better, but also share some nuggets of what you're currently seeing in the market of both M&A, but also the value creation within companies. I think that's really important as we get into. So yeah, share with me a bit of the background and.
Yeah, I'll take a few minutes here because I want people to really understand when I talk about the M&A side and the AI stuff that we're doing in business. I want you to understand where I'm kind of coming from. So New York City native, all four of my grandparents are immigrants, all came into the country, all different ways, like literally boats and planes and all that stuff. Real troublemaker growing up, kicked out of 3 schools before I was 17, beaten by a police officer at a very young age, pistol whipped actually. Decided that if I continued on that path would not serve me well. And so I joined the United States Marine Corps, spent 8 years actively deployed in the Marine Corps, pre and post 9/11, served in 27 different countries across the globe, lived on an aircraft carrier for 2 years, well, the size below an aircraft carrier, it's called LHD-5, and decided to get out of the Marine Corps and didn't know what I was going to do. And so I got a job running security, physical security at a building. The address is 135 East 57th Street. The reason why that address is so important is because that is the building that they moved all of the 9/11 companies into after 9/11. So you got this big corporate building with PTSD. So retinal scanners, security guards carrying guns, canines, you name it. It's also one of the richest buildings in New York City. And I ran security there for 6 months. During that 6 months, every day at lunch, my task was to go to the guy at the front who was badging everybody in and relieve him so he could go to lunch. And I would sit there every day and watch all these people coming in at lunch in these tailored suits and $5,000 shoes and beautiful women with $20,000 purses. And I had no fucking idea what they did. And it just ate away at me that there was something out there greater than just doing physical security for people. I wrote up this really bad resume off of the typewriter in the back office and went floor to floor in this building 2 months later and started handing my resume out to every single floor. And when I say some of the richest Cantor Fitzgerald was in this building, Galleon Group, GAM, Trump had an office in our building. I mean, like literally the richest companies in the world had their headquarters office. And I went up to this one floor, went to go try and find the HR guy, couldn't find the floor, couldn't find the HR guy, and was walking out. And this big, huge, muscular dude busting out of his suit is walking down the hallway. And I literally, again, was a Marine for a bunch of years, had zero business acumen at that point. Was walking by and I said, "Hey, buddy, here's my resume. Can you give us the HR guy?" And this was my previous, now deceased mentor, Scott Minard, Chief Investment Officer of Guggenheim Partners, the hedge fund, and they hired me. And it set off the catalyst. 6 months later, I'm Chief Officer of Guggenheim Partners on this thing called algorithms that they're using. And it set off this chain of events where I'd work at Guggenheim Partners for 2 years, learning about algorithms. They sent me back to school, learning how to code Python and Ruby on Rails. I then left that company and went to work for a small company called Cushman & Wakefield, where I was the global chief of staff, working directly for the CEO, Bruce Mosler, interacted with Donald Trump and every single politician, Larry Silverstein. During that time, I was at the company. We went from 14,000 employees globally to 23,000 employees, and the company went from private to public during that time frame. I then moved on to worked at NBC for a period of time, where I learned about out-of-home advertising, which is now called digital advertising, and then went on to Fortress Capital, Morgan Stanley, where at Morgan Stanley I ran desktop them globally, which is every single investment deck that the venture side produced for 3 years, I read to make sure it was perfect before it went back to the investment team. And I didn't even realize what was going on at that point. It was just like osmosis of I was just in transition from the military, learning from really people. And then one day, as I was reading Uber's, I was like, I get how it just clicked all of a sudden. Now, what you'll notice is I never have once been in a single college class, and never once applied for college or anything like that. I learned through doing. And so I left Morgan Stanley. I then started my own company because I read in a PE deck about digital marketing being a category to invest in. I built that company. I built a piece of intellectual property. I then sold that intellectual property to Omnicom. I then read through another investment deck that cybersecurity was becoming a thing. And I was like, we're going to become a cybersecurity person. Look like they have beards and get tattoos. I said, all right, tattoo artist we go. I then took a company, it was the number 3, a company named Plural, which is a video company. We took that company public on the TSX in under 2 years. And then because I had done that so quickly, I got recruited to a company named AppGuard, which was a small piece of technology that came out of a CIA operation. And over 3 years, we raised 5 rounds of capital for a total of $112 million. And then in 2019, while we were planning on taking it public on the net, because we had intelligence on our board, we were notified about COVID prior to everybody else knowing about it. And we made an executive decision to sell it to a private equity fund prior to the world shutting down. And then I realized how much pissed I was for those years that I had done that back to back. Spent the last 5 years really digging into how can I help people through the mental health challenges and all the burdens to go with that. While that story sounds fantastic, the other side of it is I stepped on top of a balcony, killed myself at the Lowe's Hotel down in South Beach, Miami. I went through a divorce. I have a child who didn't speak to me for 5 years because I chose work first. And I was working 18 hours, 6 days a week for about 8 years. So I tell business owners, bankers, Carnegie Mellon people, Cornell fuckers, you could not beat the amount of knowledge that I have in the game because you're really better at taking care of yourself than I was for about 8 years of my life. And now, fast forward, we have a coaching advisory practice with about 10 coaches on staff. There's categories, and it's specifically advise, investing, and scaling is what we focus on. We have a venture studio where we help people organize their buying and selling. And then because I've been working directly with what used to be called algorithms, which is now called AI, we have AI advisory practice. I'll give you guys a case study that you guys will really like, where the biggest problem that we see great money. They get to a point where they then want to sell that, and then they realize the perks they're giving out to people are great, but can't be put into synergies. Models, companies, OpEx, and we can re-engineer technology in your business, and we can increase the value of the business by about a 3 to 6x just by putting technology into the business. So all of those HVAC companies, laundry places, construction companies, everything, where they're all still doing napkin math and they're just kind of winging it or running to Home Depot for parts and putting margin on it, we can come in and engineer through our algorithms the point of that you have to realize. I'll give you guys one more example and then we can talk some more. But you have to realize that about we can out AI, because we don't think outsourcing is not but we can AI about 2% of the entire. The only thing you really focus on, the 8%, is going to be the brand the personal outsource. We can outsource lead gen for people. We can AI customer support. We can AI the accounting. We can AI HR. We can AI all of it to a point the EBITDA will just drastically shift forward, which then makes traditional M&A models actually not relevant as much anymore because to realize now where we're shifting into. The biggest challenge people, I have this metaphor I use with everybody. And went to if anyone knows who he is. And went to go to Uber. A notification slid into my Uber and said, would you like to have a Waymo instead? And I went, huh, all right, let's try the self-driving fucking car thing. So the Waymo shows up, I get in, we make it about 4 blocks down the road. And an Uber driver pulls up next to us. He's got his windows down. He's probably done for the day. And he's looking over. First time he's seen a Waymo. And he's looking in the car. Very like weird realization moment. I'm like, this fucker's looking at his future. And he's still sitting there looking and looking and the screen and we pull up. And I really thought about that the whole way home. How that guy is seeing his future. Number one, how much longer does he continue to drive before shifting? Family, careful. He's got a job. He's got kids. He's got things to pay for. Chances are that guy's going to keep on driving his Uber until when he takes over the whole city. And then he's going to blame the economy. He's going to blame geopolitics. He's going to blame inflation, taxes, all the rules, all these things that we all conjure up as entrepreneurs and business owners in our lives. And yet that guy will still continue the job while and in tandem to that, Uber is still. There are people who are thinking about becoming truck drivers. There are people going to school to learn how to truck drive. And yet we've got about 12 to 18 months before this upheaval really, really fast forwards. And the thing that we find over and over again in the businesses that we work with is that every single one of the industries and categories are going to go through that Uber driver's experience in the next 12 to 18 months. And the business owners and the investors and the strategists that are not thinking about that, even if you're doing good, because that Uber driver is still doing good, he's still making money. But if you're not planning for what's coming, you're going to have a real problem in the very near future.
Yeah, I'd like to discuss a little bit more about, obviously you're pro for sure. And there's been systems that you've created for companies. Can you explain a little bit more of the framework in essence that you implement into these companies? I know every framework may be a little bit different, but you have some pillar that you like to implement.
Yeah, so I look at it like this. I think we're all around the same age brackets. The Kindle came out like 7 or 8 years ago, and everybody like threw their hands in the air and was like, oh my God, books are dead. And they were for like 8 months, right? And then everyone realized I actually like a fucking book, right? And so some stores and businesses went away and other places persevered. And now we buy books from Amazon. That is a very microcosm of what is going on right now and what will go on for the next 2 or 3 years. And it's hard to understand where to like lay your feelings on AI when we're in the shift of change right now. But I think from everyone I talk to, they're excited about not having to ever touch an Excel sheet ever again, right? And so I always say, and this actually builds off of a little bit what Brett was saying earlier, was before you have an emotional problem with AI, you have a math problem. And so what we really look at in our business is we take people through an assessment of every vertical in their business. We look at the total cost of what that resource is, look at what the actual ROI is off of that, And then we look at take for us to implement an AI tool into it. So for example, we have a proprietary AI SDR sales bot, right? That not only does phone calling, but also does email qualifications. And so the biggest problem is, in traditional sales, you're going to hire, you're going to give them 6 months. They're going to spend 3 months onboarding, build a pipeline. You probably give them 3 more months to close. If they close less than 30% of their deals, you're going to fire them and start all over again. That's the math problem.
True.
That's every sales organization in the company. The hard part is that because they don't have alternative models to that, it just becomes try it again, try it again, try it again, try it again. And then you lose all the intellectual property that is built in that. So in our model, we look at what the total cost of that
An
person
entire sales
is.
training.
And then once we master that salesperson through an AI and make it better and better and better, we can then build 20 AI salespeople for you off that intellectual property. And the same thing goes on. I mean, we have clients right now who doesn't even want to be the CEO, and we're building an AI CEO for the business.
And many of you, I'd be curious from your perspective, what industries are going to be most disrupted are coming to you to make changes or shifts in their systems?
Yeah, mid-level management across the board is on the chopping block for sure. I think Brad's point earlier, also the world of social selling and becoming a personal brand is going to be the place to really expand. You need to have a personal brand because a lot of the AI stuff can't create that trusted system, right? But anything mid-level management, anything sales, anything that works in a spreadsheet traditionally. And I think that the other side of it is the companies that do embrace AI and do use it, like there is no can compete with a company that is using it. We have one with right now. It's a $20 million company. It is a requirement that by the time that the CFO set the at a time everyone does their taxes next April, every employee in the company is expected to have a built Copilot for their business. So for every single operating function, there is a Copilot being built. So there is CEO.ai, there's CFO.ai, there's Chief Legal Officer.ai, salespeople.ai, marketing.ai, even administrative assistant.ai, for the purposes that they have said, we're going to keep everybody here. We just need you all to get better at what you do. And one of the biggest things we're helping people do is take B and C players.
Evaluation, and obviously, like you said, there's a past and value creation life cycle of a business, but now we're going to step into the future of what you're seeing right now and how quickly AI is going to be able to validate the valuation of a company, and then also the exchange of hands. What are you seeing there?
Yep. So anyone who's ever done an M&A transaction, expensive piece of it is an integration piece, right? It becomes very, very expensive. Pieces or sold the business. The likelihood that every way that you think to go is not going to happen every single. And so, those are the two things that we've really been focusing on that side. Burn of the company is a really AI to be leveraged to add understanding of what that value is, which then increases the multiple and can, right? So, we find that even in HVAC, we're doing HVAC roll-ups now, where we can partner with 3 or 4 HVAC companies. but none of them have good systems, or none of them have any good, they have all different accounting systems. But AI you can ingest all of that data into one place. You can organize it, edit it, clean it up, drop it into a CRM very, very quickly. AI to find other predictive revenue models and places. And then you can go back to a company and say, this is where we are with our revenue. Now we can forecast out almost a 30 or 40% because we now have found kind of these gems inside of it. And we're doing this and being able to argue. A real quick case study, based business we're working with is about, they were doing 7.5 million revenue, 130 employees. And when they came to us, they only had about $500,000 in EBITDA after everything was all set aside. So a 1.2 to 1.7 multiple on a business that's been around for 10 years, nobody's interested in that business at all. We were able to take their without firing anybody, take all of their systems, all of their databases, everything, and basically create some synergies and some value-added context is what we call it, which then boosted their EBITDA to about $2.5 million. Then we were able to push that into a private equity fund, and the private equity fund says, this is interesting and great. We give you $9.5 million in order for this business. The founder said, after capital gains, that still doesn't make me happy. We said, great, what number makes you happy? And they said, well, $13 million makes the capital gains go away, gives me enough, don't have to work again, and goes back and go forward. We then spun our AI base and said, do we get this company from from amount of revenue to this amount to create the path of least resistance? They forecasted a 31% increase in revenue, $1 million by the end of the year. And we immediately and say, here's where we are now, and here's where we're going to be by the end of the year. If you don't buy the company for $13 million right now, it's going to cost you 18 by the end of the year. That's how fast you can move.
That's good. Well, I don't want to be the only one asking questions. You guys probably have a few questions as well. But before we do that, thank you for showing up today.
Yeah.
Thank you for showing up. You know, that's what you guys have done today as well. You've showed up. So let's open the AI systems, scalability. Kent, right over there.
So,
Yeah.
Sure.
so, love the AI. So I spent a bunch of years in IBM. I was
Nice.
so everything. I did a talk 2017 about AI and machine learning. And I said, it's going to disrupt stuff.
Yeah.
I just the industries that it went into, it's starting to happen. So it's interesting to hear your tale of exponential growth and acceleration of it. A year ago,
Yeah.
it's like this. You guys run models against like cloud versus what they in their mind product was going to look like. That AI told us, implemented.
Yeah. Yeah. So your question is, do we get any pushback from people when we're trying to operationalize this?
Yeah.
Yes.
I had to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, I think two things are one. I think we always start with what the end game is first. A lot of people that are dabbling in AI, you have to go through this thing called hallucinating, where if you just do into the AI, it is following a process. Therefore, it's only going to be as good as the prompt that it was put into will make up stuff. Like AI has been known to cite books that don't exist and stuff like that. But we tend to go to like the example I gave you on our case study, we were like, if you want to get to this number,
Yeah.
right? Give us the steps to get there. So we start with the outcome first and work backwards. And then when we take those numbers to talking to the human, right? Like that's really a big thing. They if we said, luckily this example wasn't the case, but if the case was the best way for you to get valued at this moment was for you to can these 5 people, then they go, we're not great. But then you other scenarios, you don't have a path to this. And I think one of the things AI modeling for business owners, like the biggest like ego pull you can go through, because something that is probably more interested in you is going to tell you exactly what you need to do, give you the path of least resistance to what it is you need to do. And you got to decide if it's really what you want. And that's a big piece of I think, where we differentiate ourselves, because we're going to be obviously looking at the models and the financial stuff, but the mindset that you need to go through, where we against CFOs all the time, and that CFO has become the expert in that business. I know my numbers. I know how to do this in my business. But so clear, I talked to you about, like, I think it was longevity clinics, for example, you know, where they normally would be buying their models, or sorry, buying their products and then just reselling. Looking at like the Mitchell model from the hair salon industry, where these models are now out there in the world. And if you were to say to I want to build this model in the industry because this model hasn't been implemented in this industry yet, you become a game changer for that entire industry. So but I think it is start with the end game and work backwards, and then areas.
That's good. Any further questions? Right here, Lucy.
AI products. But you said that you didn't go to college, so I don't see, you don't seem like to have a programming or coding background. So do you hire people with that technology background, as your employee, when you do those AI products or cyber?
Yes, great question. Love that. I'm a lot calmer these days than I was 10 years ago. For 10 years, I was a masochist and a bull in the china shop. And I built 20 mobile apps on my own, self-coded, terrible at it. Every single one was terrible. I hated it. Didn't do it. Definitely had a little bit of an Adderall problem for a couple of years. Sit up and built dozens and dozens of HubSpots. I had Salesforce developer, architect. I used to sit there and say that I need to learn how to do all that. And then, similar to what Brad said again, about 7 or 8 years ago, I was like, I need to start paying people to teach me how to do the thing. And so I would go out and find a Salesforce developer, teach me how to do the thing, just so I could talk enough about it. And then I pay someone else to do it. But I needed to be able to keep up with what they're telling you, because the problem with experts is they know they're the expert and they're going to talk over your head to demonstrate the value that they have. And so I would like take a Salesforce class, and then the engineer would come in and be like, oh, well, I don't want to dumb it down for you or not, but here's how an object works in Salesforce. And then I would teach myself. Now, fast forward, we have 21 down to this outcome going, and now we out as if we need to, but I banged my head against a wall for about 10 years, and to not have someone else have to go through that, but it's how I really did it. And now, because I've done that, my belief system is, I think there's an AI that can do that. And I'll give you guys like one quick example. It's obnoxious, but I say example because it's true. We had a company we were working with. the PE firm came back to us with some really interesting formula questions. We shifted it over to the team of the company that was trying to sell into the PE. The CFO came back to me, and this is a CFO who makes $450,000 a year. Went to Cornell. He said, it'll take me 2 weeks as the person next. And so I went. Said they need 2 weeks to do the numbers. And the CEO, who has to believe that the $450